Namaste from Dhananjaya Kumar and welcome to Great Minds through Great Quotes. In this video, I have several quotations on fear. Many of them are straightforward, simple to follow, so I will not be introducing my comments in between. I will simply read out for you to have your own interpretation. So the first one is by Piers, and the quote is, "Communication that comes from fear only creates more fear. It is a waste of breath." Communication that comes from fear only creates more fear. It is a waste of breath. And you can imagine in your own life, when somebody is trying to communicate with you or you are trying to communicate with someone else, is done out of fear, then it will create more fear and actually spread more fear among other people. Bertrand Russell says, "Fear is the main source of superstition and cruelty." Fear is the main source of supervision and cruelty. To conquer fear is the beginning of wisdom. Here is a short one by Edgar Cayce. "Fear is the root of the most of the ills of mankind." Fear is the root of the most of the ills of mankind. In other words, out of fear, people attack one another, people distance from one another and create conflict in society. So, according to Bertrand Russell, fear is the root cause of all ills and evils in society. This one is Madame Curie on fear. "Nothing in life is to be feared. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood." So this quotation is taking us to the cause of fear, that is lack of understanding. One is afraid of something that you do not know. If there is a shape or a creature or something in front of you, you do not know. You may be afraid. But if you know, you understand, the fear disappears. Very simple but powerful way to say this by Marie Curie: "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood." Nelson Mandela says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are weak. Our deepest fear is not that we are weak, but that we are powerful beyond measure." This sounds contradictory, that how can power create fear? We are powerful beyond measure, and that's what gives us fear. First of all, you may not believe that. How come you are so powerful? And then once you have power, you want to protect it. You want to keep it. And you are afraid that somebody might take this power away. And many other reasons. So it's a very interesting way of saying our deepest fear is not that we are weak, but that we are powerful beyond measure. This is a very humorous way to explain suffering. Michael de Montan. "The man who fears suffering is already suffering from what he fears." For example, if someone is thinking that I will not be suffering, or he is afraid of suffering, so you are already suffering because of that fear, although there is nothing has happened, or nothing in front of you that gives you fear. You are afraid of suffering, therefore you are in fear. And then if you associate that suffering with something, for example, you are afraid that you may get sick tomorrow. You ate something and you feel kind of a little bit uncomfortable. Oh, tomorrow it might be food poisoning. Tomorrow I'll get very sick. So that idea of bigger sickness tomorrow is bringing fear to you today. Or you are going to see your boss, or you are going to see someone very famous, and you are afraid that, what that person will think of me, I'm so small. You are already suffering, you are already in fear of inferiority complex. So the idea is to keep your mind clean and free of fear. This is by Swami Vivekananda. The man who is frightened into believing in God really does not believe in anything. In other words, if one believes in divinity or the presence of supreme being, supreme power, supreme intelligence, eternal and all capable, omnipotent, if you start to believe in that because of fear, not because of love and affection and your desire to move closer to divinity, you're afraid of divinity. Oh my goodness, I had a bad thought, maybe I'll get punished. So if that kind of belief you have in God, then really don't believe in anything. Because if you believe in divinity, you would not have fear of divinity. Keep that in mind. This is an interesting one by Plato. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when adults are afraid of the light. This is a very interesting, twisted way of presenting it. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The child doesn't go in the dark because he's afraid, he doesn't know where to go, he may bump into something and fall, and he is afraid. So that can be forgiven, that you can be understood. The real tragedy of life is when adults are afraid of the light, which means they are not afraid of the same thing that children are afraid in the dark, but adults are afraid in the light, although the risks are not like children, afraid of the light because the light shows something that they don't like or they are afraid of. In the light they see, in the dark they do not see what they are afraid of. Therefore adults may be more afraid of the light. Here light can also mean knowledge, the knowledge of light. You suddenly learn something that you did not expect and you are afraid. So a new unexpected learning or a lesson that your destiny had taught you or your situation has taught you, you are afraid of that. And you are afraid of light because you are seeing something that you would not have seen in the dark. This is the last one, a short and poignant one by Dhananjaya Kumar. And it says, the greatest fear in life is to die without having lived. In other words, you are physically, technically, someone is alive, but not living a full life, not experiencing life's dynamic presence, not enjoying nature, relationships, your own being. You are friendly with yourself, but that is not happening. You consider yourself as your enemy. You consider your destiny as bad and will bring bad luck to you. So, you are not living. And not having lived, the idea of dying, not knowing, not enjoying life, the idea of dying, not knowing, not enjoying life, is the greatest fear. Beware of it. Thank you again for listening, and we'll bring more wonderful quotations in the near future.